Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Crystal. I own a small business called Bask In The Glow and I handcraft scented diffusers and hand pour soil candles. Yeah, that was a lot to say at once. Yep, I'm using a spatula to hold my mic. Yeah, it works out, so yeah. So a few weeks back, I actually got into a little bit of a hand situation that my hand was actually overworked. And because of that, I decided to finally invest into an actual stirrer. I've actually tried some devices before, but because when I am infusing my fragrance into my scented diffusers, sometimes it gets really, really thick and hard to stir. So what happened was some of these devices actually wasn't strong enough. So they actually stopped working because it is too hard to stir. So I decided to invest and get this industrial grade one. This is super duper strong. It is so strong that sometimes my table starts to shake because of the device itself. But so far I have been using it quite a lot and it has really, really helped me. It helps about 40% of the hard work that of the hard work overall from my hand. So I really love it. But the problem with it is that it stands out quite a lot in my studio because it is blue. And being the aesthetic loving person that I am, I will not let that slide. I am going to paint it today. So let's get to it. To paint the base, I am going to use my favorite folk art matte acrylic paint. This is in the shade Cool Bisque 20229. So this paint is said to be able to paint on many different types of surfaces. So I'm going to use that today. I really hope this works and it turns out pretty. So what happened with my hand was, for the past couple of months, I've been experiencing some pain on my left hand. It started very minor at first. I only experienced it when I was doing yoga. So when you do like downward facing dog, your hand is just angled this way. So when it's angled this way, I felt like a little bit of a strain over here. And because it's sort of like a planking position, so it started to get unbearable pain that I had to stop my yoga. Like, it was so embarrassing. I was in a class and I just had to stop myself because I felt that something was getting wrong. So after my class, I usually do yoga at home as well, but I found that I had to actually stop because it was getting very painful. So I stopped for a while, thinking that it would actually recover on its own, but it did not. And slowly, most of the time, it didn't really affect me that much. So I wasn't really thinking, like sometimes I would just think like, oh, I would just go see a Chinese physician, do some acupuncture, it'll get better. But eventually on that fine day, I didn't really feel much, but after a round of gaming at night, I actually had a little bit of numbness on my hand. And because at that point I actually got a wrist rest for my computer, so when I had my wrist rest, I thought that I was just not, like used to it. So I thought, okay, give it some time, it will feel better. The wrist rest is supposed to keep the stress off your wrist, but instead I was starting to feel numbness, which is actually not because of the wrist rest. It was because of the situation in my hand. It was actually worsening over time, and of course gaming was not helping it much. So what happened was I went to sleep, and that night it became unbearably painful even when I'm resting on the bed, but even when I'm not straining or just keeping it on in just some very simple positions, it was just feeling really, really unbearably painful. So I immediately knew something was wrong, and I didn't sleep a wink that night. Next morning, I woke up. I knew that I had to get immediate medical attention. So I woke my husband and I went to the nearest clinic. And at that point, I was so nervous. I was so anxious because, as an overthinker, I was thinking that, oh no, is my handicraft business career over? But yeah, so I went to see the doctor, and one of the first questions was, is this going to be a long-term chronic thing? Because I have heard of things such as a carpal tunnel syndrome, where it is basically chronic and it will worsen over time. So, as a crafter, I was really, really scared of that, and immediately that was the first question to the doctor. And thankfully, the doctor said that it is not a long-term thing. So what happened was my tendon, which is the muscle at the back of my hand here, was inflamed. And because the inflammation was pressing down on my nerves, it caused this extreme sharp pain on my hand. And what caused this tendon inflammation was actually overworking. Yeah, because I am left-handed. My left hand is my dominant hand, and I do a lot of crafting. I also teach on the side as well. So when all this added up, over time, it caused all these adverse effects on my hand. And the thing is, because I've had this pain that was very on and off ever since the end of last year. Because if you followed me from last year, you would have known that because of overwhelming amount of orders, my hand was already feeling strained, and that is the reason why I had to close my Christmas orders early last year, which is rather unfortunate because I knew that I disappointed quite a lot of people because of it. So I'm planning to make everything even better for this year's Christmas. I have already have everything planned, and I plan to I hope not to disappoint anyone this year. I plan to do much better this year with added things, and hopefully my business will be as great as last year. Yeah, we broke many records during the festive season last year. So, woo! Yeah. I love this color so much, Cool Risk. This is like a very cute light beige color. I use this color also for some of my signages that I use for my pop-up. So hopefully it works well. But the thing is, because this is such a smooth surface, it is metal. It's not like the wood that I'm used to paint. So some of the color isn't taking that well. I think I just needed to add more color. Unfortunately, I'm also painting a little bit of my table. My table plastic cover thing. I probably should have laid the table before I started, but too late for that. Please come out cute. Lately, I've also been going through some self-esteem issues with my business, just feeling low on morale. I guess this is what people will call imposter syndrome. I was starting to feel very inferior about where I am in life. Sometimes I do think, things would be much easier if I just quit whatever I'm doing and go back to a full-time job. I did enjoy working at my full-time job, even though it was stressful for quite a while because of the pandemic in 2019. But there was so much fulfilling and so many moments that I felt so meaningful during my previous job. But I decided what I decided. But overall, I would not mind doing what I was doing before. It is a meaningful job, so I am leaving it in God's hands. I have been through so many times that I tell myself that I know I will pave my own destiny. I will hold, everything. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But life always kicks me in the nuts. okay, strike that, I don't have nuts. It's so many times it has shown me that no, you still have so many things to see in life, so many things to look forward to understanding, to knowing, to seeing, to experiencing. So I sort of grew into becoming this person that takes life as it is, in moments, in checklists. Don't look too far yet. God has already laid out the path in front of me. I just have to follow in faith. I've been feeling really low on morale ever since the mid of the year. Probably it's just the time of the year because sales aren't great. It's not the festive season, so my mental health has been just going down. I felt really alone, especially as a business owner that who does everything by herself. I do have help here and there, but ultimately being the person who decides things, having all this freedom, I would say. Back then when I actually resigned from my job, I actually told myself, like, wow, it is amazing to have all this freedom to decide what you want to do with your time, from the time that you wake up, how much work you get to do, deadlines. I can fix my own deadlines, and it's always so easy to just say, let me just move this to tomorrow, because I am someone who time blocks my schedules. So it's so easy for me to just shift my schedule. Like, if I don't feel like doing this today, I'll just move it to tomorrow, move it to next week, move it to next month if it's not urgent. So I would say that it is a double-edged sword. Knowing what to do with the freedom can be really scary sometimes. Having too much freedom, and technically when you have your own business, you don't report to someone, you report to yourself. And because this is such a two-way thing, like I always tell myself sometimes, like, rest is productive, and then I want to rest more, I time block, make my schedule less, but during the time that I am resting, I actually feel that I am useless and I am not productive. And it's so easy to get into that negative mind space when you're by yourself. And so I slowly learned to just appreciate, to really see, and I think it is something to be felt personally, that when your rest is productive, it is when you are resting properly. As an overthinker, I used to tell myself, yes, this is rest, but I am gaming, I am not doing much productive things, not much resting things for myself. So that was not really counted, and I always go back, and there was a lot of self-blaming along the journey, and it was something that I really needed to look deep within and find myself within. Yeah, it has been quite a tough journey, but I would have never traded it for anything else, because it is through all these difficult times that I grow to become who I am. So I am who I am today. I am resilient, more resilient than how I was before, because of all these things that come my way. And so obviously, because if I look at who I was 2 years ago comparing to how I am now, I can see the way that I react to situations, to bad news. I just take it now and just think, how can I do better next time? What can I do to make the situation better? How do I improve as a person? How will I do things differently next time? If it was me 2 years ago, I'll probably, cry and just be really, really sad about it for a really long time, and then probably just sulk for days. I mean, there's nothing wrong with crying and feeling shitty about the situation, but I respond much better these days. So I'm really glad that I have gone on this journey. Okay, a little update. I don't know how well it's gonna come before. I'll only know after I remove the tape, but so far it's not really looking great. I think it looks okay from afar, so I don't have much complaint. Just thinking if I want to do the blue base, because I am actually getting quite lazy. Oh shit, this is very heavy. Oh my god, my hands full of paint. But overall, I would like to thank everyone who reached out to me to check up on me. I have quite a few of you who, message me once every few days just to ask if I am feeling better. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think it is amazing that through my small business journey, I met so many of you kind people who generally care and generally, really appreciative of me sharing my journey. It really means everything to me. Like, I am someone who did not have any official art or marketing or any kind of creative kind of background. So this really means a lot to me. I think it is pretty okay right now. I'm going to just let this dry and I will probably put the top coat in an hour. My hands have so much paint on them.